Hello guys, welcome back to another Tech Dev Repair video. In today's edition, we're going to be working on a screen repair for the iPad Air 3rd Gen. So, key thing to ID this type of iPad can be a little bit tricky is that it has one camera. It does look like a big iPad Air, but it's still an iPad Pro 12.9 inch, and the 3rd gen actually didn't come with two cameras, only the 4th and the 5th gen. So make sure you order the right part. This video will illustrate a tutorial on how to go about this repair fast, because they do take a lot of time. There's not a screw, so it's all glue. We're gonna try to show a different vision on how to proceed with these repairs. Not using the conventional methods. We're gonna go through many aspects on how to go through things like gate, because whenever iPad sustains some form of damage, you have like these dents erect from it, so we need to correct it because they're super delicate. They're very thin. It's still LED, it's not OLED, but there's thin screens with a data board. If it's good LCD, it's a good idea to go through this method in order to like have like some sort of asset for new inventory. So stay tuned for the video, and we're gonna go through how to proceed with this repair. And if it's something that piques your interest, all the links are below in the description. Thank you. So the first thing you want to go with this repair is to have a heating mat. During the entire process of the extraction, we're gonna set the temperature between 60 to 70 degrees. So most phone tech people, they go with the old school method. They think alcohol will solve all the problems, but they fail to realize there's actually better tools to go around that repair. So for this round and around, we're not gonna like go through alcohol, but we're gonna go through something different. So this compound, this chemical compound, is actually used for like back glass repair. It's called frame glue remover. However, after some tech dev experiment, we concluded that it's actually much more efficient than the alcohol, because certain iPads use different type of adhesive compared to the others. Isopropyl alcohol is only effective with certain type of adhesive, which we're gonna have a more detailed video in the future, and other ones are more effective for this type. So I would go with the syringe because these iPads, they're rated IP67, so you want to make sure like the syringe is very thin, and you want to take your time while it's heating to slowly pour a nice dosage and let tiny amounts of that viscosity liquid to infiltrate the screen, which makes the extraction much easier if timed correctly. I would say for the extraction time, if you're a beginner, try to like do it around 30 minutes. As you get better, it should take you only around 15 minutes if you follow the steps properly. For this type of repair, always tell your customer 2-3 hours repair. Doesn't matter if you're beginner or not. Many complications can arise. You want to set expectation to be realistic. If you need more time, don't hesitate to tell them like we're busy. It might take like even 5 hours. So like the more practice you do, the better efficiency you get from these repairs. So that is the goal of this video, is to actually not just show how to properly fix LCD, is to how to think outside the box, how you can have like some quick tips and hacks to make sure this is like a widely used method, and hopefully we can earn your business. So if you guys can subscribe or like leave a like, that would be greatly to appreciate business, so we can give you still more free content. You can support the business at techdev.com. We do offer mailing repair as well as advanced data recovery service. We offer services from level 1 to level 5. Depending on the severity of the device, we take servers, RAIDs, CDs, flash drives, any type of electronics except speakers. No, that was a joke. So now it seems like all corners are slightly filled with like the frame glue remover. I would recommend to keep it in this position and flip it here and there, just to make sure like there's proper thermal dissipation. So the thing about this is that when you have a liquid who actually gets in touch with like a glue, it does kind of alleviate the viscosity, but it still reattaches when it goes cold, like physics 101. What happens to a very hot liquid? It freezes. So that's why you want to make sure you have a continuous dissipation of the heat, so that way while you're applying the glue, it at the same time multitask and helps alleviating the adhesive that Apple uses, and you have more chances to extract the screen without making or minimal damage. So it's very important to always save any form of asset, because those screens, they're very valuable. Sometimes, like if you have a lot of them, it can turn into thousands. So it's something like you have to think about from a mindset calling progressive escalation. So the more little tiny steps you do for the benefit of the place where you work, the better it is at acquiring new methods to make sure the repair is professionally done, set new standards, and the client comes back to you, pretty much. So right now, I think we applied enough viscosity around the frame. We're gonna just flip it like that. And we're just gonna leave it for like about 5 more minutes, because I can feel it's already boiling hot. These heating mats, we do have them in our website. The cool thing about that is that you can always use a blower if you need like some extra cooling. Always is good to have one of these on the side, but you can just press a button, it lights up, it cools off. So you have time to prepare, let it a little bit dissipates. And the first step I would do before going any further is like flip it back and then use a suction cup holder. Don't start from the camera because there's the Face ID here. Yeah, so that's the third hint you should get. iPad Airs, they have Touch ID here. iPad Pros, Face ID. Even though it's the same thing, you have to check the bottom. That's just a quick tip. But we're gonna use a suction cup holder, and then we're gonna just apply it right here. Those like sometimes snap back on. Give it some time, and then after, we're not gonna use a pry tool. We're gonna actually use something very more efficient with just the suction. You can help with a spatula, but like I think it's best if we go with plastic cards. So that's the most important thing. You wanna go with plastic cards. You wanna make sure you don't go too deep, because sometimes what happens is that like the LCD and the glass digitizer gets separated if you don't go like underneath. So you want to make sure for this type, especially if you have a good LCD, they're very valuable, these ones, like usually like up to the 150. But off topic, you want to make sure like you always conserve these LCD, they're valuable. So that's why we're not gonna go with the conventional tool of a pry tool. We're gonna go with something better, a plastic card. People get intimidated when they see this and that, like it's gonna scrap, we need metal. Not at all, not all the time. If you apply the liquid that I just showed you earlier, it'll be much easier. And now we can switch back the temperature just to make sure like it's properly dissipated. And then after, we're gonna move on with the extraction. The temperature right now is at 62. Let's wait a little bit longer. It's not really necessary, but in between, if it makes you feel better, you can apply while going around it. So we're gonna use plastic cards to start. Oh, kind of switch back to freeze. Yeah, you have to make sure it's like, don't hesitate to apply a little bit of pressure to make sure it's trapped in. Okay, all right. You wanna get those a suction cup holder with the lock, makes it easier. Start by the charging port and just slightly lift. There you go, it's lifted. So once it's lifted, if it's already lifted, like no need to like be overly cautious. That's it. Because like now, like the glue is completely null and void, cancelled. So like it becomes easier to like just make sure it goes deep, like this. There you go. Oh, kind of turned on at the same time. So far so good, no segment lines, everything is okay. If you're a beginner, it's a good thing to like double check yourself, you know. So like we didn't ask for it, but it kind of like for the purpose of the video helps us out. So we appreciate AI. I'm just kidding, guys. So yeah, that's what I'm concerned about. When the temperature gets really hot, it does leave like some yellow spots. So that's why you don't want to overly abuse it, hence the flipping. So one thing to note about this, usually the flex extension cable, they come like that from this side. So this is where you want to be careful. Okay, so far we're doing good. Don't be too stressed out about the debris that left over, as long as you don't damage this line right here, which like are the sensitive area. Guess we got lucky. So yeah, comes out easy. Like the leftovers, we can scrap it off with like X-Acton F18 or 15. Okay, so this is indication that this is where the connection starts. Always the opposite where I showed like where the magnetic pencil stands. Always the opposite of magnets. Okay, so now like we can make sure to leave the temperature on to make sure like the heat dissipates while we take care of the top. Okay, so now we flip back on. Okay. That show has still some resistance here, but it's okay. And this is very easy because we can see the frame glue remover already did 90% of the job. So it's pretty much just like scrapping. Make sure like we get every... So if you do this to advantage, you save your time for polish because you want to make sure there's no more glass or glue there. So already the frame gluer does an excellent job at that, and you're saving time also like for the installation of the new LCD. Okay, so like it's flexible, screen is still on, we're checking, good. No trace of segment lines, so we're doing good so far. It's actually great that the screen is on while we're extracting. So just to show you the importance of like recycling screen can actually have a very huge, tremendous impact. Again, guys, like we do offer a lot of parts when it comes to iPad, logic boards, components, cameras, rear cameras, front cameras, speakers, chips, anything you can think of. Tools, sets, please visit our website, tech.com. Thank you for the support. Alternative service, we also have PC building. So if it's something piques your interest in, we do offer these services. Like this is gonna be a brand new trend we're gonna have. Like we do offer PC custom built PCs, professional level optimization, any type of machine you guys want. All the links are below. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're almost done. Key thing, when it comes to the top, for this model, there is a specific way to go through it. We're not gonna use this type of screwdriver, so we're gonna use this tiny one, and this is gonna be much better because we just have a little space to go around this guy right here, the Face ID. You guys are gonna see what I'm talking about. Right here. So you cannot fully open the screen unless you take care of that screw right here. So there's two. Do not worry if you flex it like this, that's the only way. However, there's another way, it's more complicated. We're gonna settle with the easier way. Try to have a tiny screwdriver, take care of those screws, take care of the metal bracket. This is the first connection you wanna disconnect before going any further. Start from the charging port, move on to this. So you wanna be very delicate when it comes to this one. They're kind of like a little bit flimsy, you kind of curve them a little bit, so that's pretty cool. Helps you, because like we're dealing with like a very flex cable. Cool, we got the second one. Now we're just gonna take care of the metal brick connection. You can use those like little girly tweezers. Very efficient at disconnecting cables. Better than like the classic spudger. Especially when it comes to these tiny ones, they can be very annoying. Good. So now the first connection is severed, we can move on to the rest of the repair. So then after we can use one of those very nice ESD electrostatic discharge support stand for iPad repairs. They come with like a lever right here, make sure like the repair is comfortably done, and with like a tiny hinge. Apologies for earlier, this one actually, the connection is from this side, so it's the opposite, but it still comes from the like side where the opposite magnet pencil is. So it's like always good to memorize where the connections start from. And we're gonna do further correcting here because it's slightly dented, so we can rectify with a smart electric pen. So moving on, for this, we can already tell it's been already fixed. So I can see the QR code. This is not probably a refurbished screen. Okay, so moving on. It's also good to like know like if the device had any history of repair. That's what I'm saying. We're gonna start by taking out the Phillips screws here. So before disconnecting the battery, Most people think like you always have to disconnect the battery to ensure a safe repair. That's not completely true. You just have to make sure there's no contact in the repair and operating with only plastic. Hence the reason why we had a more unconventional approach about this repair. So we remove the tray. You may want to remove, the first thing you want to remove is like the screw holding the battery, so to release a little bit of tension. It's not going to be good enough. You need to lift the board. You don't need to put those two things usually screen comes, so you just need to lift the board a little bit. Don't waste your time too much with those little tiny ones. Okay, so now we're gonna disconnect. Okay, once the screen is gone, the only thing we're gonna need to focus is transferring the Face ID. This is very basic, like you don't need to spend too much time on it. And moving on, now the debris are gonna be easier to remove. Like since we already applied the glue, like you can even like literally just take it out with your fingers, but earlier you saw like the risk. So this one, we're just gonna use a X-Acto knife. It's gonna come off easy. And the installation is like literally just put in that tiny schneebel, the Face ID flex into the new screen. And then after like, that's it, you're done with the repair. Like, because we applied necessary chemical compounds, like the adhesive comes off so easy, and these are like supposedly IP67, so like they're not easy to remove. But you see, like thinking outside the box at Tech Dep allows us to like have more efficient repairs. So it's coming off easy. Like usually like you have to kind of scrap it off with the, can we literally like use it tweezer. Like it's super clean, like there's almost no need to polish. Like guys, this please, we're gonna have it in our website. We're gonna even try to find a new chemical compound that can have better results. So we always look to innovate at Tech Dep. And thank you again for you guys sticking by for the video. Please leave a like and subscribe. Sorry for reminding so much. Like we're trying to like give a lot of free content. We have a lot of good team, good ideas, passionate people. That's what we do here. We're so passionate about the repair industry and data above the most. So that being said, this one we can leave it at the last. Oh, important guys, make sure like you don't leave it on too much. So thank God we had the ESD, kind of like worked as a shield. But now we just pretty much need to remove the Face ID, and we don't even need to polish. Actually, we can skip polish. We have other video we used to polish with the X-Acto knife. Now that's why we're coming up with better ideas on how to like make repairs so easy, so affordable. Like it's something you can do DIY, or like you can like just send us the device and we'll professionally handle it. Good. But you want to be careful, like for this, like yeah, I highly recommend you use the gloves, because like you don't really need precision at this point, you know. It's like we're make sure like you don't put any fingerprints in the front Face ID camera. Okay, so like the only challenge we have left is to make sure that this stays down, because like you can see the curve. So we're gonna try to like use something different for that, because it does seem like it needs pressure. We do have something that could work for this. Most people would think like to go with like a pins. So just to give you an idea what we're dealing with, so it does seem it's a different type of bend, like the frame is detaching itself. So this is troublesome. This can like cancel the whole repair. We have to make sure it's like as flat as possible. You could try to use the pins, but there is another way we're gonna try first, and we'll troubleshoot how to approach it. So when it comes to the front Face ID proximity sensor linked with the serial number of the front Face ID cameras and the logic board, this has to be transferred onto the new display. So for this one, don't spend too much time thinking of it. You can just use isopropyl alcohol. No need to use the frame glue remover. You don't have to be super delicate. I prefer the word efficiency. Just put as much as you want. It won't interact with any electric functionality. So for this, like adjust the temperature just for a quick second, make sure it's a little bit warm, and you can just use the spatula, spudger, spatula, whichever you prefer. And we're just gonna go like this. That's it. Boom. So I know there's a lot of them. Don't be shy. Put in as many alcohol as you want, isopropyl 99% proof or 75% proof, but I recommend the 99% proof. And So for this, you just want to like make sure you use that tiny it's a very interesting tweezer. Like, we're gonna call it a female tweezer. And with the heat and alcohol, the magic should happen. And we want to make sure we grab from that little black box, which is like the right frame of the proximity sensor, the center box, which is the center, and I believe this is the infrared. There's a lot of components in the Flex Face ID, and I wonder why Apple like linked the serial to this tiny Flex ID to the motherboard. Like, it doesn't make sense, because there's certain models they don't always do that. Like, you would just need to transfer the front face ID, or like even on the new iPhone 13 Pro Max, you don't need to like transfer the part. So like, the design for iPads and iPhone is very controversial. Do they really purposely make it hard? Because they don't really give a lot of support when it comes to Apple services. Like for iPads, especially when it's the Pro lineup, like I showed you, the time consuming, they always try to like show it's not worth fixing it. Like, you just get a new iPad. They release so many. They like usually release like the iPad Air Pro in the first fiscal quarter and then the final quarter. So there's like a strategy behind. That's why we're trying to determine in terms of repairability score, I would give this a solid 7 out of 10. But not completely hard, doable if we use the right methodology and technology. So that's why, like, if you guys have any comments, feedback on why certain models differ from others when it comes to like the conceptual design of repairability, is it like because Apple has a secret agenda? Like, there's a lot of questions that arise with this type of topic, and possibly in the near future we might have like a Tech Dev podcast when we actually discuss certain topics like that. We do also have a Reddit page, a Twitter account, Quora. We like to interact with the community, so we always welcome criticism and feedback. It does help make the show. So now the flex cable is gone. Next step is to literally like just install the screen after we deal with that little pickle. So we're literally just gonna apply a little bit of pressure with our thumb, because it's just like the frame is slightly detaching. So as long as it's flat and polished, we're good. For this, a smart electric pen is good. There is like a little bit of curve, but we can still polish it with this tool. You don't have to go with the Dremel because it's not so dramatic. Smart electric pen is the way to go. So for this one, smart electric pen is the way to go. We're gonna use this tip, the circular one. It's kind of like iPad dentistry when you think about it. Don't put the rotation speed too high. This is good enough. So just make sure it's flat. And this has to go in a little bit, so push it forward. As long as it's polished, it doesn't have any pointy end, so it won't break the screen during installation, and we can hide it the best we can, because the customer knows like the shape of his screen. We did recommend a housing swap, which is the most professional way to do it, but he wanted a more economical way, so we came up with our own TNE solution. Just make your thumb here. It does seem a little bit slightly more curved. It has to be like close to flat. You can always switch the tip, make sure it's polished. There's the cylinder. So these are more effective for polishing when it comes to this type of dents. So the surface is like flat and slippery, and adhesive will stick. Okay, surface is flat enough. Use the blower. And the final phase would be just to install the screen. Okay, so the last step is to just install the flex cable. Oh, by the way, the daughter flex cable, LCD digitizer extension, are parts, they come with it. Most of the suppliers, they do not offer those. So like, we try to be very comprehensive, competitive, and very fair. So that's why, like, if you guys are looking for LCD without, if you damage those cables, like, we do provide them. That's the benefit of shopping with us. Thank you. So yeah, for this, like, you literally just need to make sure the center part is in that little tiny hole, and we're gonna press it very hard. There you go. And with the leftover adhesive, like, it should stick. Make sure like it's very precise when you want to install it. The tiny dot has to match where this dot is, the white dot. Okay, good. So they both match. Now we're ready to move on to the last part of the installation, which is the easiest part. Okay, so the best way to go about it is to leave the Face ID connection at the very last. This lever comes very convenient. So we're gonna position it like that to start. To make sure we get all the position into their respective places and slightly tilt it. So yeah, the connection for this model seems a little bit backwards. So that's why it's very important to have those stands in order to help you with the process of repair. Good. So now we want to start by putting the metal brackets, very important. So the first one we're gonna need to take care of is the button for the battery. Make sure you leave the screws because there's not so many organized on a tiny corner. That way you don't discard them, because usually like you panic when you miss that last tiny screw. Like, you want to make sure for this type of repair it's flawless. It's like, do not be sloppy in any way. Even though like you don't need all the screws, I would suggest for good practice, always put all the screws back to their respective location. It's interesting. Even though they're all the same screw, this size to this hinge right here seems to be a little bit different. So it does seem that the screws for this section, they have their own respective place, at the very least by the bottom right corner. Okay, so now that it's completely done, so I recommend for beginners to test the screen, but we're fine here. If you follow the proper steps, don't worry, like, you're good. Now comes in like how to deal with the Face ID connection. So you want to do this. Okay, so the iPad already turned on by itself, and this is what I'm talking about. Like, you need to connect the front proximity sensor, otherwise you get this message right here, enable for the Face ID. Bad idea that it turns on while you're doing the repair, but I believe like we probably touched unintentionally the power button, but it's fine. We're gonna reset it later. It would be a good idea to turn it off. We don't want to make a connection while it's on, so that's something you don't want to disregard. Very bad practice. Even though you don't make any damage, there is some long-term damage you might do to the CPU, so I advise you to always turn on the device. That's beyond error. Okay, so now we're gonna use the lever. Actually, we don't need it. No, so for this one, it's a little bit tricky. We're gonna have to go through the other way. Okay, so we already tested the screen, it's fine. And all we're gonna do is like slightly do this, like the same way we did it in the beginning. This time we're gonna do it in reverse order. Simple. Slightly tilt your screen downwards, just tiny one. Lift it up, so you guys can't really see, but you just want to make sure it gets connected by pulling tiny connection here and apply it. Like, don't flex the bottom flex cable too much. There you go, it's connected. Once it's done, now we can put back the metal bracket to cover the connection. Use the top one to start with, just to make sure, like, because those are very hard to operate with 2 hands, so we're gonna like start with the top. You don't need the tiny ones now anymore. Good. So now that it's fully functioning attached, you already naturally peel off the adhesive stick, and you just make sure it's attached. Make sure there's no debris in the front camera. So a quick sweep with the blower. Make sure there's no debris using a Q-tip. Good. Start from the top. Camera is aligned. Camera is aligned. Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. nice. It's properly. I don't think we even need clamps at this point. Like it's because the adhesive we offer in our screen, they're so solid. That's it. Like all corner, I can feel they're super flat, and that should complete the repair. We'll give it another test go to make sure that we don't get that message for the Face ID. Oh, it was not turning on. I really thought. Interesting. The reflection of the light. There's a lot of light here. We're trying to make sure like you guys can see. If you guys have any audio problem, feedback, or video feedback, please leave them in the comments below section. Our editorial team always take your feedback very important. We also try to reply. Okay, perfect. So the message is gone, which means that the Face ID worked. This was actually a very valuable client of ours. It was the birthday of his daughter, so we kind of gave him a complimentary discount. That will complete the video. Thank you guys for watching this tutorial. I hope it brought some valuable information on how to proceed with the iPad Pro 3rd generation. Again, if you have any feedback or comments, all the links are below. We offer mail-in and data recovery service. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the next video. Peace.